It usually starts with a whisper, but this time, it began with a hiring decision that screams louder than any headline. For months, the world has been watching Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, looking for cracks in the facade. We've seen the awkward public appearances, the separate business ventures, and the growing physical distance between them. But while everyone focused on their failed Spotify deals and public ridicule, something much darker was happening behind closed doors in Montecito. The specific move in January signals that the end isn't just coming, it's already been planned. Meghan Markle quietly rehired Sunshine Sachs. To the average person, that's just a PR firm. But in Hollywood, Sunshine Sachs is known for exactly one thing: aggressive, high-stakes divorce management. They are the fixers you call 90 days before you drop the bomb. But why now? And why does veteran royal biographer Tom Bower say Harry is walking into a trap he doesn't even see coming? The answer has been hiding in a legal document signed years ago, a document with a specific clause on page 14 that changes everything about who owns the money, the house, and even the children. Harry thinks he's fighting the British press, but the real battle is happening in his own living room, and he's already lost. Before opening the legal files, you need to understand why these new revelations are sending shivers down the spines of the royal family. This isn't internet speculation from a basement blogger. We are talking about Tom Bower. In investigative journalism, Bower is known as the Hunter. A former barrister and BBC journalist, he spent 4 decades dismantling the reputations of untouchable billionaires and tycoons. He doesn't just write books, he builds legal cases. When Bower reports on Robert Maxwell or Simon Cowell, he doesn't rely on anonymous sources that vanish in the wind. He interviews the people in the room, the lawyers, accountants, and fired assistants. For his investigation into the Sussex marriage, Bower conducted over 80 interviews with direct witnesses. He spoke to palace staff who were bullied, Hollywood agents who saw the contracts, and most importantly, legal minds who understand the complex web of the Sussex finances. When Bower says there's a poison pill buried in the Sussex marriage contract, he isn't guessing. He's reporting on a document he has likely verified through the very people who drafted it. What he found contradicts every romantic story we've been told about their union. While Harry played the role of the protective husband, a legal cage was being built around him, one bar at a time. Most people assume that, because Harry is a prince, his assets are protected by the ironclad laws of the British monarchy. In the UK, royal prenups protect the crown, ensuring ancestral estates, titles, and jewelry cannot be claimed by a spouse. But Harry and Meghan made a decision that nullified centuries of British legal protection. They moved to California. This is where the nightmare begins. California is a community property state, meaning anything earned or acquired during the marriage is generally split 50-50ths. The Netflix deal? Half hers. The book advance for Spare? Half hers. The Montecito mansion? Half hers. But according to Bower's investigation, the prenup includes a clause that overrides even this standard split, and not in Harry's favor. The alleged clause on page 14 deals with intellectual property and future revenue. It reportedly states that whoever is the primary manager of the business entity retains control of the brand assets in the event of dissolution, and on almost every Archwell document, that person is Meghan, who appears first on the trademarks. Who is the face of the new lifestyle brand? Not Harry. This clause effectively argues that, because Meghan is the business mind and manager of their joint ventures, the future profits of those ventures belong primarily to her. It's a legal masterstroke. Harry isn't just risking half his fortune. He's risking the rights to his own story, his brand, and his ability to generate income in the future. How did Harry let this happen? The trap wasn't set in 2018 when they married at Windsor Castle. At that time, he had the full weight of the palace legal team behind him. The real damage occurred in 2020 during the chaos of Megxit. Harry was emotional, angry at his family, and desperate to escape the UK. Vulnerable, he signed amendments to the prenup that redefined their joint ventures in a way that heavily favors the person doing the administrative work, Meghan. Harry admitted in his book that he has little patience for paperwork or legal details. In essence, he signed away control because he didn't bother reading the fine print. He thought he was signing for freedom. He was signing for a transfer of power. To grasp the magnitude of this financial trap, consider his memoir, Spare. While it seemed like Harry's moment of truth, under the prenup's intellectual property clause, Spare looks less like a memoir and more like a transfer of wealth. The book was released after the 2020 amendment. It generated millions in advances and royalties. But who managed the publishing contract? According to sources, the Sussex business structure funneled these earnings into joint entities where Meghan holds the managerial controlling interest. Tom Bower suggests a terrifying reality. Harry did the emotional heavy lifting, took the public heat, but the profits he generated could legally belong to Meghan. Meghan's history shows a pattern. When she divorced her first husband, Trevor Engelson, it was swift, efficient, and calculated. She ensured a clean break and retained her earnings and independence. Today, she is systematically uncoupling her financial identity from Harry's. The launch of American Riviera Orchard, her podcast deals, trademarks, all are under her control. Rehiring Sunshine Sachs mirrors her previous behavior, setting up the PR narrative before any legal filings hit the desk. The numbers are equally concerning. Headlines shouted about a $100 million Netflix deal and a $20 million Spotify deal, but insiders say those were ceilings, not guaranteed payouts. Spotify canceled the contract. Netflix reportedly downgraded theirs. The money they did receive, perhaps $40 million, was quickly depleted by security, private jets, PR retainers, and mortgage payments. Meanwhile, remaining assets have likely been structured for protection, meaning Harry could unintentionally convert his private royal inheritance into community property. Emotional and social isolation further compounds Harry's vulnerability. He is reportedly living separately in hotels and San Vicente bungalows, spending his days on Zoom calls about past traumas, while Meghan focuses on her future, building a billionaire brand empire. His social circle has dwindled. Family ties are strained. In high-conflict divorces, this isolation is leverage, making Harry psychologically dependent on Meghan's narrative. Custody is the next battlefield. Archie and Lilibet live in California, where courts favor the primary caregiver. Harry cannot remove them to the UK without Meghan's permission, and she is unlikely to grant it. The prenup may outline custody arrangements, but judges prioritize the children's best interests. Harry is essentially a hostage to his own fatherhood. The title is another critical asset. Precedents show that divorced royals can retain their titles. Meghan's goal is clear. She wants to keep the Duchess of Sussex title. Losing it would undermine her global brand. The palace may have a nuclear option to remove titles if the divorce becomes weaponized, but until then, the stakes remain high. When will the hammer drop? Bower points to a 6 to 12-month rollout plan. Hiring Sunshine Sachs in January suggests that by early 2026, the narrative will be fully established. Meghan did everything to save the troubled prince, but ultimately had to prioritize her happiness and her children's well-being. Harry, still fighting past battles, may not realize that the war for his future was decided on page 14 of a 2020 document. He burned bridges with his brother, alienated his father, isolated himself from friends, and may soon find that the only person waiting for him on the other side is the one person he cannot afford to trust. The fairy tale is over. The legal thriller has begun, and if Tom Bower is right, the ending will shock everyone. What do you think? Is Harry really this blind to what's happening, or does he have a countermove we don't know about? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe because when this news officially breaks, you'll want to be here for the full story.